Chicago Bears right now are sitting on a gold mine at number 1, okay? And in this video, I'll be talking about what the Bears could potentially be getting by trading out of the number 1 spot. Now, before we begin with this video, I want to say if you guys are watching this video right now, whether that be on your phone, on your laptop, etc., you probably spend a lot of time online. And if you do, I think it's pretty important for you guys to keep track of what information you might be leaking online to other places without you knowing. And that's why I'm actually excited to partner with today's sponsor, Aura. Okay, and Aura is a very easy to use app that includes everything you need to stay safe online. I've actually used this myself in the past few weeks, and it's a very cool app that protects you from scammers and hackers by scanning the so-called, dark web where criminals sell your stolen information. So Aura looks for your emails, your passwords, your social security numbers, etc. And if they find anything leaked in a data breach, they alert you fast if they find anything. And I actually tried this myself. I'm using their app, and I found 4 passwords of mine that were leaked in past data breaches. So it's pretty helpful to know that that stuff was out there, so I could change those passwords and not, have them out in the public like that, right? So they help you fight back against these annoying websites that make your personal information public by automatically requesting removal of your information, which helps reduce robocalls. Or also gives you near real-time alerts on suspicious credit inquiries. For example, if someone is opening a loan or a credit card in your name, they would alert you immediately. Their VPN allows you to stay anonymous online by keeping your browsing history and personal information safe and encrypted. And they protect your devices from viruses, malware, spyware, and more, so the bad guys cannot break in. Or it even helps you manage what your kids are doing on their devices. You can restrict their specific apps, set screen time limits, and even set focus times to ensure your child is doing their homework instead of binging YouTube. So that's pretty cool. And their password manager lets you store and access your online passwords securely and conveniently. And maybe you already have an app that does one of these things, but with Aura, you don't have to download and pay for 7 separate apps. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online. If you actually sign up using my link, okay, you get a 2-week free trial for this app, right? So I have a link down below in my description box, also on the screen right now. If you guys follow this link, sign up, make an account, you get a 2-week free trial, which is pretty cool, okay, to see what this app is all about. And you'll be shocked at, how much of your private information is actually leaked out there in the public. So definitely go download this app down below. Again, thank you for Aura for sponsoring today's video. What's going on, guys? I'm back with another Chicago Bears draft discussion video, which I'll be doing a lot in the coming months because the Bears obviously have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. So there's going to be a lot of mock drafts coming up, a lot of trade discussion videos, and, videos breaking down what the Bears could potentially be doing with the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Again, the Bears have not had the number 1 overall pick since 1947. It's been a while, and Ryan Poles in his second year as GM has a chance to do really good things for potentially trading back out of this pick. So in this video, I thought I'd be looking at all the past trades that have been made involving the top 3 picks in the draft. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go through every single trade, but I'll be going through the most notable and recent ones, right? Because that's going to give a indication as to how much the Bears could be getting this year in 2023 to move back out of number 1, okay? And presumably, it's obviously going to be for a quarterback, okay? Teams move to number 1 to go up for a quarterback. And this year, more than ever, teams are desperate for quarterbacks, okay? It's the year 2023. If you don't have a franchise quarterback to sell your fan base on, okay, to give your fan base hope, you're going nowhere as a franchise. And we've seen comments, man, from current GMs that have indicated their desperation for a franchise quarterback. For example, Colts GM Chris Ballard, he actually had a press conference a couple days ago, and in that press conference, he said that he would do, and I quote, whatever it takes to move up for a franchise quarterback at the top of the draft if there was one up there that he liked. And obviously with Bryce Young getting a lot of hype, with him having a very good college career, I'm assuming that Bryce Young is going to be the guy at the top. That's the guy that most mock drafts have at the top, and that's the guy that I feel like has separated himself as the best quarterback in the class. But even if it's not him, okay, maybe like a CJ Stroud, maybe like a Will Levis from Kentucky, which I'm not the biggest fan of because of his college tape, but he does have the tools to maybe be a good quarterback in the league, right? So whoever that quarterback is, Chris Ballard, his job is on the line, man. I mean, he's been the GM of the Colts for a long time. They've had no success really recently at the quarterback spot, trading for veterans, guys like Carson Wentz, guys like Matt Ryan, okay, older guys that have been playing already in this league that have not had much success as of late, okay, playing for the Colts. So I think that Chris Ballard, man, he really needs to swing big here to save his job. And what better way to do that than by trading up to number 1, okay, to get a franchise quarterback to sell your fan base on. So the Colts could be very desperate. Obviously, the Texans need a quarterback too, okay? They have Davis Mills, and Mills regressed badly this year. I don't think he's the future. They could have just not won the last game, okay, to keep the number 1 spot, but they went out there and won the last game, thankfully for us Bears fans. So that's going to be a place where, they might need a quarterback. You have Carolina, very desperate for a quarterback. They have an owner, David Tepper, who also is very desperate for a good quarterback. I mean, he was in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. He was, pushing for getting a good quarterback last year. That didn't happen, so maybe they get that this year in the draft. The Atlanta Falcons, okay, Desmond Ridder, they have him there, but he was a late-round pick that hasn't really done anything special, I would say, with the Falcons. So Ryan Pace, man, he's with the Falcons front office. If he has conviction on a guy, maybe the Falcons could be a team moving up for a quarterback. The Raiders are trading Derek Carr. They maybe need a quarterback. I'm sure Mark Davis would like to see Bryce Young in the Raiders uniform. That would be pretty cool. You have teams outside the top 10, like the Tennessee Titans, who maybe go for a quarterback. Probably not, because they have Malik Willis and Ryan Tannehill, but neither of those options inspired any confidence this year. They had to go to Josh Dobbs late in the year. You have teams like the Jets. Okay, the Jets maybe need a quarterback. I mean, they swung and missed on Zach Wilson. So do they draft another one? Probably not, but there's a possibility, right? And, maybe New England, probably not, but the Commanders, okay, Commanders at number 16, okay, Commanders definitely need a quarterback, okay, unless you believe in Sam Howell, which he only played one good game at the end of the year. But the point is, guys, that there's a lot of teams in the draft this year that could be wanting a quarterback at the top of the draft, and the number one pick, guys, is rarely for sale, okay? Usually if you're picking at number one, you select a quarterback because that's how bad your team is. You probably need a quarterback if you're selecting number one, but the Bears have a unique case where their roster was so extremely bad, but their quarterback still provided some flashes of potential, where you still want to give Fields another chance, okay, with an actual good roster, which you can get by getting all these picks you're about to get by trading back. So I don't think it makes any sense for the Bears to go quarterback number one. It does make total sense for the Bears to trade out of number one and take advantage of very desperate teams, because there's going to be a bidding war for this number one pick, most likely, guys. Again, like I mentioned, the number one pick is rarely for sale. And if it is, if you have a lot of teams that need quarterback, they're going to have to outbid each other if they want a specific guy, okay? If Bryce Young is that guy, they're going to have to outbid each other, which that could create a lot of, demand for the number one pick. And that could really increase the value that Ryan Poles is going to get by trading back. Take like a Houston Texans, for example. Even if they want to, only move up one spot to get Bryce Young secured, they're going to probably have to give up a lot to just move up one spot, because they're bidding against a division rival probably in the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, how much do you pay to move up to number one to ensure that your division rival, the Colts, don't get to number one, right? Like, that's what you have to take into account when, looking at what the Bears could potentially be getting by trading back. It's not only how many spots you're going up, but also how much are you bidding against other teams. And that bidding, guys, could be artificial too. Like, Ryan Poles could be creating stuff out of his ass, okay? You could be talking to Houston saying that, oh, Indy is offering us 3 first-round picks, DeForest Buckner, all this stuff, and Houston, they could be panicking, okay? If they really like Bryce Young, they might offer their second first-round pick to move up one spot in the draft. That's not totally out of the realm of possibility, because that's how desperate teams get for these quarterbacks, right? It's all about value, about how much you're bidding against other teams, and about how much you want to prevent other teams from getting your guy, right? Like, we've seen the other end of that as Chicago Bears fans. Moving up just one spot in the draft for Trubisky cost us a whole lot of draft capital, right? So with all that being said, I do want to bring up the Jimmy Johnson trade valuation model, which is still used nowadays in the NFL somewhat as a baseline for how much these draft picks are worth when trading them for other draft picks. Now, this is somewhat outdated, obviously, because this was created in the 80s, but I feel like this is a good baseline to assess how much your draft picks are worth, because most trades that have occurred in the NFL still somewhat follow this model, okay, this draft value chart. So looking through this chart, guys, pick number one is worth 3,000 points. 3,000 points, which is worth as much as, you can see, right, like pick number 6, pick number 7 combined, okay, that's how much number one is actually worth. So if you want to go down from 1 to 6, okay, you need a lot of value in future picks and current picks to make up for that. If you're moving only from, pick number 1 to pick number 2, that's a difference of 400 points, which is equivalent to basically a second round pick, okay, mid-second round pick. And keep in mind, guys, oftentimes teams end up overpaying based on this valuation model, okay? So this is only like the baseline, the starting point for how much the Bears could ask for when trading back. If they want to move from number 1 to number 4, for example, that's only moving down 3 spots, but that's a difference of 1,200 points, which is equivalent to the number, basically the number 12 overall pick in the draft, right? So you can see there's going to be a lot of value you're going to have to make up for if you're moving down from number 1. That's how valuable pick number 1 is. And future picks in this model are discounted by about 50%, I believe. So if you want like a future first rounder, that's going to be equivalent of like about 500 points if you're picking at around pick number 15, pick number 16, which is what I think it's assumed that you're picking at if you're getting a future first rounder, because obviously you can't predict what that team is going to be like, what the record is going to be like next year. So I think it's mostly like around 500 points for a future first round pick. So you can see, moving down from 3,000 to, 1,800, okay, 1 to 4. That could be the equivalent of multiple future first round picks, even though you're only going down a couple spots in the draft, right? So that's a good baseline for how much the Bears could get by trading back. But now I want to go through like the previous trades that have been made, okay? Actual trades that have been made involving the top 3 picks in the draft in the last 10 or so years. So let's begin. All right, so first we'll be looking at the last time the number 1 pick was traded, okay? Back in 2016, the Rams moved up to get Jared Goff. They traded with the Tennessee Titans, and in this trade, I'll put the details on the screen right now, but the Titans received number 15, the first round pick, number 43, a second round pick, number 45, another second round pick, number 76, a third round pick. They also received next year's first round pick, which ended up being pick number 5, and next year's fourth round pick too, which ended up being pick number 100. Now the Titans also had to give up some picks to get all this haul, so they actually gave up pick number 113, which was a fourth round pick, and pick number 177, which is a sixth round pick in the following draft. So you can see here, guys, it was a pretty substantial trade down, okay, number 1 to number 15, going from the top to the middle. So the Rams definitely moved up a lot, but they also gave a crap ton of value, right? I mean, a first round pick, 2 second round picks, a third round pick, next year's first, which ended up being pick number 5, because obviously most teams with a rookie quarterback don't end up being good. Jared Goff had a terrible first year with the Rams. So the Titans got an insane amount of value here by trading out of number 1. Okay, that's how desperately the Rams wanted Jared Goff. Now looking at the next trade, also in the same year, 2016, the Carson Wentz trade up. Okay, the Eagles traded for number 8 to number 2 with the Cleveland Browns for Carson Wentz. They moved up there, and in return, the Browns received number 8, which is a first round pick, number 77, a third round pick, number 100, a fourth round pick. Then they also received a future first, which ended up being number 12, a future second, which ended up being pick number 64. And the Eagles also received a fourth round pick in return from the Browns to get all this hauled. So not as big of a haul as the first trade, obviously, because they weren't moving that high in the draft as compared to how much the Rams had to move up, but still a lot of value, okay? A future first round pick, a third round pick, a fourth round pick, future second round pick too, only to move down 6 spots in the draft. Going to the next trade then, the RG3 trade back in 2012, okay? So this was between the Washington football team, Commanders, whatever you want to call them. They were the Redskins back then, trading with the Rams, okay? So the Rams were the ones moving down, and Washington actually gave up a lot here, okay? So the Rams received a first round pick, which was number 6, a second round pick, which was number 39. They got a first in 2013, which ended up being pick number 22, and a first in 2014 as well, which ended up being pick number 2, because obviously RG3 tore his ACL, and that ended up being a rough year for Washington. So obviously the Rams received the much better end of this deal, because they traded down from pick number 2, and then eventually they got pick number 2 back in 2014, on top of receiving 2 other first rounders and a second rounder too. So clearly a very good trade down from the perspective of the Rams. Going to the next trade then, the trade that Bears fans know too well, the Trubisky trade up, okay? Only going from pick number 3 to pick number 2. The Niners received a third round pick, number 67, a fourth round pick, number 111, and then the following year's third round pick, which ended up being pick number 70, and only to move down 1 spot, okay? The Niners got a haul for only moving down 1 spot in the draft. And the reason the Bears did pay all that much just to go up 1 spot was because they thought somebody else might jump to number 2 to get Trubisky, okay, to get their guy. Now, was that ever going to be the case? Was anybody actually wanting to trade up for Trubisky to pick number 2? We'll never know, okay? The Niners definitely could have been lying, but that's what you have to do, okay, if you want to go up and get your guy. They're finally looking at the most recent trade, okay? The Niners trading up for Trey Lance in 2021. They traded from 12 to number 3 with the Dolphins. The Dolphins received a future first round pick, which ended up being number 29, a third round pick, which ended up being number 94, and another 2023 first round pick, which is not known yet where it's going to be, because the Niners are still in the playoffs right now when I'm recording this video. So you can see a lot of value to move down, you know, about 9 spots. 2 future first rounders and a third rounder too. And Trey Lance right now is not played really at all for the Niners. So a really good trade for the Miami Dolphins. So those are some of the most notable trade downs in the top 3 in the last like 10 or so years. And as you can see, a lot of value for the team trading down. The team trading down basically fleeced the team trading up every single time, because that's how desperate teams are for quarterbacks. And the price today, guys, in 2023 for a quarterback is even higher than it was back then, like 10 years ago, for the RG3 trade or for the Jared Goff trade up, right? So the Bears could actually be setting a new record for compensation received in a trade down, because the value of a young franchise quarterback on a rookie deal is way higher today than it used to be back then. So that's actually why I'm going to be creating some mock trade scenarios, okay, mock trade packages that the Bears could potentially be getting for this number 1 pick. And let's begin. Alright, first mock trade is going to be with the Texans. Texans moving up to number 1 because they really love Bryce Young or whoever. They want to prevent the Colts from getting him. They go up to number 1 and they give up number 33, their second round pick, number 136, their fifth round pick, and also a future fourth round pick in 2024. And yes, I know what you're thinking. That is way too much to be giving up to only move up one spot. But guys, if the Texans are really desperate enough to go up for a quarterback, like I mentioned in this video, they're going to do it, right? Because they're bidding against so many other people too. It doesn't matter that they're only moving up one spot. They're bidding against teams like the Colts, like the Panthers, like the Falcons that might be offering multiple future first rounders, right? So it is going to cost probably this much to go up even only one spot. They might even have to pay more. Okay, maybe give up their second first round pick that they got from the Browns in the Deshaun Watson deal. Now, I don't think it's going to cost that much at the end to only move up one spot, but that's a possibility, right? You can never count that out. So this would be an amazing trade for the Bears to only go down one spot and potentially receive a, really nice haul of picks and still get a Will Anderson or a Jalen Carter. Next mock trade is going to be with the Colts, which everybody and their mother has been predicting. Okay, everybody on Twitter has been predicting this trade because obviously Chris Ballard wants a quarterback. He wants to move up to the top probably to get like a Bryce Young. He's desperate for one too. And in this trade, guys, I have the Colts giving up obviously number 4, number 35, a second round pick, a future first round pick in 2024, and a future second round pick in 2024 as well. And guys, this is a lot, okay, to move up just 3 spots in the draft, but it's going to cost at least this much because, again, other teams are going to be bidding against the Colts, and it might even cost them a player too, guys. Like, I don't have any player listed here, but it might cost them maybe a DeForest Buckner, maybe a Quentin Nelson, okay? If they don't want to give another first rounder in like 2025, maybe exchange that for like a DeForest Buckner or a Quentin Nelson who are already, established veterans in this league. Now, that's going to obviously suck for the Colts, but they're going to have to do what they have to do to go up to number 1, okay, if they really are this desperate for a young, rookie quarterback. So that's a pretty good deal for the Bears. Obviously, probably getting a high first rounder next year. I mean, the Colts are not going to have a good record next year, I'm presuming, if they draft a rookie quarterback, because rookie quarterbacks rarely have good records in their first year. So that could be like a top 5, top 10 pick, which the Bears could be using to maybe get like a Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State next year. That'd be a dream scenario for the Bears, and also getting a high second rounder again for next year. Next mock trade is going to be with Vegas. Okay, if Vegas wants to go all the way from 7 to 1 to get a Bryce Young, a CJ Stroud, whoever, it's going to cost them a lot. Okay, and in this trade, I have them giving up a 2024 first, but also Davante Adams. Okay, and this is probably very unrealistic, right? Because I don't think they're going to want to trade Davante Adams, but Davante Adams only came to Las Vegas to play with Derek Carr, and Derek Carr now is getting traded. So I'm assuming, Davante probably is not going to want to be there, and what other better place to go to than reunite with Luke Getsy in Chicago. Okay, Davante actually really liked Luke Getsy. They actually have a really good relationship working with each other. He used to be the receivers coach back when Davante Adams first broke out. So I'm sure Davante would love to go to Chicago. And the value actually lines up here going from 1 to 7 for the Bears. Okay, getting a high-level receiver in Davante Adams and getting a future first too, which could be, again, a high first because usually, rookie quarterbacks don't do that well in the first year. Now, obviously, it's going to suck going all the way down to 7. Like the elite talent, like a Jalen Carter, like a Will Anderson is not going to be there per se. But getting Davante and a future first, I think that would definitely be worth it for the Chicago Bears. And then lastly, the final mock trade is going to be with the Carolina Panthers, going all the way from 9 to 1. And in this trade, the Bears receive obviously number 9, number 39, a future first rounder in 2024, and another first rounder in 2025. Okay, so in totality, 3 first round picks and a high second round pick too, which I think would be really good compensation for the Bears. Now, obviously, Carolina would be giving up a lot here, but that's what you have to do, man, if you want to go all the way from 9 to 1. Okay, that's a pretty significant jump, and the value here is worth it, okay, for both sides. I feel like if the Carolina Panthers really do want a quarterback that badly. Again, it's going to suck going down all the way from 1 to 9, but those future first round picks could be worth a lot if the Panthers don't select the right quarterback or if they don't surround him with the proper pieces, which is pretty likely because, as we know, most rookie quarterbacks turn into busts. Okay, at least 50% of rookie quarterbacks taken in the first round, they turn into busts. Okay, so the odds, could be pretty good for the Bears receiving a pretty high first round pick. So those are all the predictions I have for how much the Bears could get by trading down. Now, obviously, I could be wrong about this. Like, the actual value could be higher. It could be lower too. There's no way of knowing until you are actually in those front offices, having conversations with all the GMs. So I won't know. We won't know until a trade actually happens. But I'm pretty confident a trade will be happening because there's just too much value to be gotten from from trading down from other desperate teams, okay? And obviously the Bears have so many needs all over the roster, so they need as many picks as they possibly can get. But the Bears, man, they struck gold by being in the number 1 spot, okay? Just because of a last-second Hail Mary that the Texans somehow converted. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. But as always, bear down.